and welcome to the Majorly Undecided podcast. I'm your host, Kat Klaus, and today I'm really excited to bring to you an interview with someone who is one of the most genuine business owners that I have ever met, who has taken an idea and grown it over the past 15 years from a solution and a one-man business to a full-fledged honored company that employs over 125 employees in 2 different states. He is honest. He is one of the nicest guys you will ever meet. I'm excited to bring to you an interview with Jim Damian. He is the CEO of Stria. He's a Kern County native and a graduate of Tehachapi High School. He holds a bachelor's degree from San Diego State University and a master's degree from the University of California, Berkeley. He's a husband and a father, an entrepreneur, and a 2-time Ironman triathlon finisher. He's incredible in fitness and triathlons and marathons. He actually was one of the reasons that I did my first marathon. He worked as a child welfare social worker before founding Stria, which is a business process outsourcing company. Stria is a 4-time INC 5000 honoree with over 125 employees located in California and Nevada. The company's core areas of focus are document management, technology services, process automation, and administrative support. But as you hear from Jim, it is so much more. Students and parents, I'm really excited for you to hear Jim's story and how he got started and how he decided to take an idea that he had and to grow it into this huge company, and the skills along the way and the risks that he taken. As I said, he's one of the most genuine business owners I have ever met. He's an amazing mentor, and he's never short of incredible ideas. I learn something new every single time that I talk to him. Without much ado, I'm excited to bring you this interview. Jim, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I'm really excited to ask you more about your story because you have an amazing story.
Kat, it's awesome to be with you. Really appreciate the opportunity and look forward to sharing what I can with you and your listeners.
So I'm going to start with the first big question. Did you know in high school what you wanted to be when you grew up?
I did not know. I did not know in high school, and it changed. At the time, it depends on the week you would catch me, but we're highly influenced, right? So I would see something neat in the media, and maybe I wanted to be a professional athlete one week, and the next week, there'd be something about a physician. I thought, well, maybe I'll be a doctor. So I bounced around mentally in high school, wondering what I would do, and it changed early and it changed often, and there was just a bunch of time where I had no clue and was very fearful. Other people seemed to know exactly what they wanted from their freshman year, and I changed my mind every week, and then there were plenty of weeks where I just had no idea what I wanted to do, and it was kind of scary, to be honest with you.
Did your parents help you a lot in narrowing down your choices, or?
I think they gave me a lot of guidance. My parents were more like encouraged me to think outside the box, and if there was an obvious choice, I think they knew too that those weeks, maybe months, but those weeks when I thought, oh, I've got it figured out, I'm going to be, uh, a zookeeper or whatever it might have been. They were smart enough not to discourage me, but they might, encourage me to keep thinking on that, because they like everybody, they changed their minds over the course of their life and probably knew I would do the same.
How did you decide which college you were going to go to? Did you pick by major, or?
Well, I did not have, March Consulting to work with me during my high school time. We had some guidance counselors, but the honest to God's truth, Kat, is back then it was all on paper, and I got the map of the California State University system, and I grew up in a little tiny town called Tehachapi, which is not too far from where we're conducting this virtual interview. But anyway, and I measured with a ruler the California State University, that was the farthest away from Tehachapi. and that's how I picked. And that school was Humboldt State University, and so I sent away my application to Humboldt State University.
Did you declare when you got there, or were you undecided?
I declared. It changed, but I did declare. I declared political science.
Were you thinking about going into politics?
Yeah, that was one. So I think on the day when I filled out my application, after I measured with a ruler the school that was farthest away from my hometown, I had decided if I was going to go away to school, which seemed like a good idea, and I was going to travel all that distance, 500 miles or whatever it was, I might as well shoot for the stars. And so I think at the time I was figuring I'd be president of the United States. So that was sort of like that was the job I had settled on.
And then what changed when you were there? Did you start your gen ed and then just decide that poli sci wasn't for you?
I kept with it. I actually studied poli sci. I really loved it, and studied it. And then actually the next year, my sophomore year, got an internship in Washington D.C. And so really was pursuing that political education and lifestyle. And after I spent about a year in Washington D.C. and a semester working for a senator, um, decided that it wasn't what I thought it would be, and like many careers, you get into it a little bit and go, oh, okay, that it's different. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was just different. And so I decided to switch gears, and not shoot for the political lifestyle.
What did you do from there when you decided you were like, oh, I don't think this is for me? Did you do what I did and you just kind of panicked a little bit because now you don't have a path?
Oh yeah, it was sheer panic. It was sheer panic before, during, and after. I think all those years from there's a lot of panic, high school and college, because you're wondering, what am I going to do? How am I going to pay my bills? How do I pay these loans back? Um, but really wise mentors in my life had encouraged me to think deeper about, and that's part of what I learned at college is to think. It sounds simple. You just sit there and think. Well, it takes practice, and so I thought I was practicing thinking, and I knew that there was a reason I was interested in political science. And as I decided I didn't like the operational part of politics, the more I thought about it, the more I realized what I really liked was helping people. And so for me, helping people meant, political science and politics. Well, I slowly came to learn just through thinking about it and taking more classes and getting exposed to more things that really what I wanted to do is help people. And I figured out, well, there's lots of jobs that could fall into that category of actually helping others.
Eventually, you moved over to more sociology and social work and things like that.
Yeah, so I transferred school. So I started at Humboldt, went to national student exchange to University of Maryland, and then ended up at my third school, which was San Diego State University. All the while transferring and trying to take all the units with me, right? So ended up back in the Cal State system at San Diego State University, and with that mission was in my head of, okay, I want to help people. I want to be a helper. Kind of looked around and figured out one of the majors that really allowed for those sorts of career opportunities was psychology. So got declared my major, redeclared my major from political science to psychology, and that was what I studied at San Diego State.
What did you learn most in psychology in your classes, the skills and things that you gained?
Oh gosh, I mean the skills in psychology transfer to everything. So I mean it was great. I learned again probably the biggest thing, and it sounds sort of cliche, and I don't mean it to, but just learning how to think, learning how to learn. And so in psychology, it's the study of how the mind works and how the mind influences behavior and how to change behavior and how to deal with psychological issues. And so I learned really the psychology to me was a study in people, both myself and others. So I really learned about what motivates people to do the things they do. And boy, that transfers into any industry. I mean, we're all humans floating around on this earth, and so learning why people do what they do and how to think about behavior, that transferred and really helped me out a lot.
What did you do after college? Did you get a job before you left, or did you come back home for a little bit? What was that path like?
Well, I always after undergrad, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I always had a job in college. I worked my way through school, so that was a little bit of a challenge. But as I got, my by my third year of college, I was able to get jobs in my profession. So I got a job working at a group home for children. So I worked at this home where these kids lived, and it meshed right up with my psychology studies. So I got to, by day and afternoon, I was studying psychology, and evenings and weekends, I was actually working in a home, putting those things into practice. And it was great. I learned a tremendous amount. And so I had that job. I also had summer jobs and worked at summer camps. And I tried a lot of different jobs in college, everything from stocking the shelves at the student store to working in a group home with severely emotionally disturbed kids. And I really think that that helped too. Just getting exposed to lots of different jobs gave you some life experience and some work experience that helps you narrow your focus.
What about because eventually you went into social work full time, so you became a social worker. And did you go to grad school for that?
Yeah, so I was working in the psychological field, and I was studying psychology and other jobs, on campus jobs, a variety of jobs, but really liked the way the psychology degree lined up with helping others. And so I started exploring, okay, if I want to take this to the next level, what could a graduate program do for my career opportunities, and what would I be studying and thinking about? And so I applied to graduate school at UC Berkeley, and was accepted. And so right after I finished undergrad, I think I went home for the summer, worked, and then started graduate school the following semester in the fall at UC Berkeley, where I was studying social work. What they call it at that school, it's a master's degree in social welfare, or abbreviated to be MSW.
So how does someone go from social work to owning a company?
Right. So, I guess that's a good question. And at the end of the day, my north star, right, my true direction that I've always tried to pursue and has really spoken to me is helping others. And so at first I thought it was politics, then I thought it was psychology, and then it became social work for a while. Um, and I realized as a social worker, my ability to help others was hampered at times, primarily due to inefficiencies and paperwork associated with that job. And so just got really interested in being a better helper. And that manifested itself in me using technology to manage caseloads and to do my work. And then that turned into a company. As I continued to think, again, going back to that number one skill I talked about, continuing to think about what I wanted to do, for me, I realized actually I could help even more people if I created a company. As a social worker, I was helping my caseload. And then as a manager, I was helping others use technology to manage their caseload. But as a business owner, I have the ability to help huge amounts of people, our customers, but also the staff that work here. And so if you're out to help others, owning a company is a pretty cool way to do it.
So a lot of people would think that it's two kind of different skill sets, right? Because as a social worker, you had your caseload and there's bureaucracy there and there's a lot of paperwork there. But you're more tech oriented because you created, kind of this computer program that would scan, and take away a lot of that paperwork process. How did you develop those skills? Were you learning on the fly? Did you take a class about that, or was it just kind of figuring it out as you went?
Well, the number one thing I learned in college was how to think and how to learn, right? So when I was in graduate school, I was seeing all the different ways to use the internet. I could buy movie tickets, I could shop, I could listen to music, but I couldn't do a lot for my day job. And so I got really interested in the underpinning technology that allowed us to buy movie tickets and shop and listen to music. And so I thought, what if we could use that technology to um, make it easier for social workers to do their jobs? And so I got inspired to learn about that. And so I just became a student on my own time and read every book and looked at every website to learn about how all this technology worked. And I taught myself about technology. Um, and then was able to use it. And actually, another thing that UC Berkeley was able to do during my time as a graduate student, I got to sort of make my own emphasis. So I graduated with what I refer to now as a emphasis in social welfare technology. I mean, that's really not a thing, but a lot of these schools, it's funny. You just have to go and tell somebody, "Hey, I think my emphasis should be such and such," and I mean, they're just like, "Yeah, okay, great. As long as you take the classes, you can do what you want." And professors at undergrad and grad, they're so excited to see that you're thinking about things in a new way. Cal was really UC Berkeley, or what they refer to as Cal. Cal was great about allowing me the freedom to think about that and do projects in that arena.
So you started out, there's this moment in business, especially when you're launching this on your own, right? That you have to, leave the day job and go full time. Was that terrifying? Did you ever wonder if you made the wrong decision? Were you alone? Did you have people with you? Because I know a lot of students, they want to start their own venture, but there's that leap you have to make, and that leap is very scary.
Yeah, no, it was. It's kind of funny. I'd like to say it was a scary leap, but the honest answer is it should have been a lot more scary than it was. After graduating grad school and working as a social worker and building technology systems, it just one day, I don't know what happened, but I figured out, you can start a business. Like, you don't need special permission to do it. I mean, you need to get a business license, but even that is sort of optional at the beginning. So once this sort of thought dawned on me that, oh, I don't need special permission to start a business. I don't have to. My parents don't have to start it for me. I don't have to buy one. I can just go into business. Once I realized that was an option, it's the only option that I could think of. So I didn't really make much of a calculated choice. If I would have, I probably wouldn't have done it, because most businesses, I mean, 80% of businesses don't last more than a year, 90% don't last more than 5 years. So the odds really aren't in your favor. But then again, 100% of the businesses that last. So I just, once I figured out it was an option, it honestly became the only option. And I had a small baby and I had a great day job. I had a million reasons not to do this. But I didn't think about that. It really didn't feel like much of a choice. It just felt like, oh, that, of course, that's what I'll do. I realized I could do it. And so I thought, what else would I do? I got to try it.
So then how did you go from, one man in your company to now you have hundreds of employees now, don't you?
Yeah, we've got like about 125 employees that work here at Stria.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it started with just one, or a couple. And one of, there's three owners. I'm the majority owner, but we've got Scott Garrison, who runs sales and marketing. He's my co-owner. And then Rory Banks, our partner, he actually started almost on day one and has worked his way up to being an owner and an executive in the company. So um, it's just slowly building, and we've done way more things wrong than right, and we've made more blunders and errors. And I didn't have a formal business training, and I didn't have business background. I'd never even really worked in a small business other than like a restaurant as a busboy. So it was there was a steep learning curve, but slowly, I think at the end of the day, Kat, honestly, staying true to that, our goal, the number one goal was I wanted to help people, and the company is here to serve. We're a services company, and so I think that drew people in, and it allowed clients to have an interest in working with us. So clients grow, projects grow. You need people to go do that, and so we go find great people that want to be part of the company, and then it grows. But I've been doing it 15 years. It's very hard to imagine it's been that long, but it's taken some time and a lot of effort. But here we are, and every day is a new day.
What is your favorite part about your job right now? Like what other than helping people, like what's your favorite part about what you get to do every day?
Oh, my favorite part is just doing podcast interviews with you. That's it. That's it. Now, Gosh, that's a good question. I think helping people, I get a sense of purpose. Um, it makes me feel good when we're able to create jobs and solve problems. It's an adventure. Every day is an adventure. As a fellow entrepreneur, every day is an adventure. So my favorite part of the job that I have now is just that it's an adventure, and it's something where I get to spend a lot of time helping people and doing what I learned to do in college, and that's thinking and learning. I mean, learning how to learn, learning how to think. It doesn't come natural. It's a muscle. It's an exercise. You have to practice it, and so I just happen to really enjoy learning and really enjoy thinking and problem solving. So um, that's it's not for everybody, but I certainly enjoy the entrepreneurial lifestyle most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. But you know, I didn't know I wanted to do this. And honest to God, 3 years ago, if you said, "Well, what will your business look like in 3 years?" I probably would have told you something totally different than how it looks today. I mean, we're changing, so that's the other cool thing is as new opportunities come up. Like we sell software, right? One of the things we do is we sell software, we write software, we integrate software. If we get really interested in a certain industry, we can dive into that industry and become a vendor in that industry. So if all of a sudden, I want to be the best manufacturer of, software that scuba divers use to map out their dives. I know nothing about scuba diving, and I'm kind of scared of going underwater too far. So I probably won't do that. But I could do it. I don't need permission. I could just go do it. I could
Mhm.
invest time and some money and go. So, um, there it kind of feels like college still at some days because you kind of get to pick how hard you work on different projects, and you got to choose carefully though, because in college you get a C or a D or God forbid an F. You can figure out a way to recover, but in business, you run out of money. There's nobody there to write you a check to help you get going again.
What about your least favorite about owning your own business?
My least favorite. Gosh, there's an element of stress that comes along with the financial piece of this deal, right? So um, at the end of the day, one of the problems you have to solve for is profit. You have to have enough money to make the business run, and good intentions aren't enough, and trying hard is not enough. At the end of the day, you have to have some money. So it means when you get your first client, you can't spend that money until you get your second client, and then so on and so forth. So that part of it is not very fun. I'm not super money motivated. Our company does well, but that's my honestly, the financial elements of the business are my least favorite because we just want to serve and we want to do right, and you got to spend a lot of time looking at the numbers and the finances, and that's challenging. Luckily we have an awesome person who loves numbers and is our controller, and she makes everything work pretty good. She's a superstar, so I'm very lucky to have her, but for me, I don't love the financial part of the business.
So, with psychology, you talked about how that translates over. And I know in business, psychology is huge. But then there's a lot of other skills that you learn probably in political science and, from the classes that you took at Humboldt, San Diego, and at Berkeley. Um, how have you, are you conscious about those skills? Are you using those on a daily basis, would you say?
Yeah, I guess I don't know that I'm so conscious about it because I don't think back to the actual classes and the professors, but I do think about it a lot. And it's become second nature. Like the one of the classes I think about all the time, which has nothing to do with social work, psychology, or business, is the theory of evolution. My favorite class that I had in grad school and undergrad was a senior seminar on evolution, and just being exposed to those ideas and how the different theories of evolution came to be, and that yeah, you hear Darwin, okay, everyone knows Darwinism, but and everyone knows creationism, but those are two theories on the origin of life that are complemented by dozens of others, and so just the idea that something as simple as where did life come from? There's only one answer, right? I mean, it came from somewhere, and pick one. The idea that that could be such a complex question with so many different answers. Um, I draw on that class and the thoughts of those great thinkers who came up with these theories all the time, so almost subconsciously. So yeah, it's amazing. And the other one I'll mention is philosophy. I mean, every college degree you have to take, you have the opportunity, I think, still to take a class in philosophy. And what are you going to do with that? Well, you think, oh, you're not going to use that when you're selling insurance or doing social work, but boy, that's about human behavior and about thinking. And those philosophy classes are amazing. So sometimes you look at the schedule when I was building my schedule in college and think, well, I don't need to take that. Why? That's just going to fulfill some silly requirement. And then you fall in love with it, and it changes how you look at the world around you. I mean, that's the magic of education, right?
Mhm. What advice do you have for students who are thinking about maybe going into business?
Um, get practical experience. Try and get a job or an internship at a small business. Every small business owner in the world will let you intern, and most of them will probably find a way to pay you. So it's a great opportunity for people just to find a small business owner and get some hours working or volunteering in that business to learn about it. I think getting that solid financial education is important. It'll save it'll save you from making big mistakes. So I think understanding finances and taking those classes is very good. I think the risk is don't overdo it. I mean, you need to be well rounded if you're going to be successful in business. So learning lots of different things, taking lots of different classes, and then probably the most important thing of all that, network. People buy services and goods from those that they know, like, and trust. So your chances of being successful in business go up. Whether you're an entrepreneur or you're just working in a company, your chances for success go way up if you have a network of people who know, like, and trust you. So networking really becomes it's important. It's not just knowing how to read a financial statement or build a widget or sell something. That networking is really important, and there's no better place to do it than college.
It's exactly. You have the alumni network, you have your professors, you have different clubs and activities. They do a lot of, there might be a business club or a psychology club, and they bring in, professionals, and there's national organizations. There's just a huge opportunity to network in college that most students don't think about.
Yeah, no, and it's a unique time you make those relationships. I mean, I still have friends that I met in college, and we stay connected. Especially now with the power of the internet, you don't have to see them every day. You can call and text and social media and stay connected with people, and it's quite great. In fact, one of the we're in right now. People will be listening to this podcast for generations. So who knows when it's hitting the earbuds of people listening to your podcast. But during this COVID-19 pandemic, I tapped into somebody I went to school with to manufacture face masks for a local hospital, and that was just a connection from school. So it's you never know where those connections percolate back up.
Um, One more question, because I know that a lot of students get really nervous about asking for internships and things like that. What do you look for in an intern? If you were going to select one from a whole bunch of applications, what do you look for?
I look for, first of all, the easiest one is the desire. I mean, I've been doing this 15 years, and I honestly have never had a student come. Well, I've had one student, one that went to you actually, who came and wanted to do an internship, and just the desire. So the number one thing is desire. By the way, that student's coming back for a paid job this summer. So
Yay!
yeah, yeah. So just the desire is one, but also authenticity. I think nobody expects an intern to know anything, I mean, so if you know something, you're going to be ahead of the game, but just being authentic. um, you're not getting hired to be a CEO, you're getting hired to be an intern. So coming in with a sense of authenticity and um, comfort in your own skin, that's what you want. I mean, that's whether it's an intern or an investor or anything else, somebody that's authentic. So I would say anybody that, first make the ask. You'll be surprised what you'll get if you ask for it. That's the most important thing. But the second is just be authentic, be yourself. Um, fake is not fun for anybody, and you can see it a mile away. So, if you don't know how to read a financial statement yet, don't say you do, and say you'd really like to learn. And it's very flattering when someone goes, I don't know much about your business, but I want to come work there or volunteer there or intern there. Almost everyone's going to say yes to that.
That's what I've created internships for students who have just come ask me. I wasn't planning on having anybody, but I can find something that can be done that will, loop into what you're interested in. You want to develop a marketing plan. Well, I'll show you how to do that, and you can do that. And, so the ask goes a long way.
Yeah. Oh, we've had interns that have taught us stuff. We've had a couple entry level employees and interns where you go, hey, here's this idea. Oh, wow, great, awesome, cool.
Well, let's do that.
Yeah, but yeah, just that eagerness. I mean, it just shows so much if somebody's willing to go, hey, can I come and work for you for a month or 2 months or 6 months and pay me whatever you want? Or maybe I'm working for coffee. I mean, very few people will say no to that. And it's quite, it makes you feel good as a business owner. And when somebody cares enough about your opinion to just come work with you, I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's very, very few people will say no to that, partly just because it's so dang flattering. If someone goes, hey, I really think what you're doing is special. Can I come be part of it? Heck yeah, come on, let's go. We're in it.
That's very, very true. I think it's such a cool story. And you've done so many amazing things. Do you have any other advice for students?
Well, I guess first of all, I'll tell you thank you for what the words that you. Thank you for your kind words. The fact that you are interested in my story means a lot, and I look up to you, and I'm proud of what you're doing, and proud to know you. So thank you very much. I guess my advice would be to the students who might be listening to this, and to the parents. It's okay not to have it figured out yet. Most people I know, even at a late stage in their career, are still wondering what they're going to do next. Next might be when they turn 70 years old and the kind of job that they have. Next might be when they graduate college. But most people are thinking about what they're going to do next. So I guess my biggest point is expose yourself to a lot and don't think you have to have it all figured out, because the people that have it all figured out have just gotten really good at pretending to have it all figured out. Nobody has it all figured out. They just find a way to be comfortable in their own skin. And those are the people we're all drawn to. So just have a very diverse, rich experience. Pick a direction and make the most of it. And it's okay to change your mind. We all do. And sometimes that happens multiple times a day. But the fact that you're listening to this podcast means you're probably going to do very well, because you're training yourself to think and to learn and absorbing new information. And there's nothing more important than that.
Jim, thank you so much. I think that our students got a lot out of your story and your achievements and everything amazing that Stria is doing. We are going to link Stria in the show notes so they can learn more about technology and business and making face masks and pivoting and things of that nature. And I know that you guys give a lot back to the community as well. So thank you so much. I'm really excited to see where you go from here too, because I know that you're always constantly learning and changing, and we're all figuring out what we want to be when we grow up. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Kat. Appreciate it.
Jim, thank you again so much for being on the show. I think that we learned a lot from your story and seeing how all these incredible skills came together, and how you don't need permission to start your own business, how you can just start getting as many experiences as possible. I'm going to link Stria in the show notes for our parents and students to learn more about the company and your story, as well as some of the programs you mentioned, Poli-Sci at Humboldt, at San Diego State Psychology's program, and of course UC Berkeley's graduate program. As always, student and parents, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us, info@majorlyundecided.com, or on our website, majorlyundecided.com. We're out on social media as well. If you would like us to feature a particular episode surrounding a question that you have or a career field you would like to hear more about, please reach out. As always, subscribe to this podcast. Leave us a review in iTunes or in Spotify if you are so inclined. Thank you so much again, Jim, for joining us today. We will see you next time. Bye.